Something a little different today. In my home, I have a server I've set up. It runs Linux that does various things. It updates my dynamic DNS entry. It's a file server. It's a logging server for my smart home. Anyways, this server has been running pretty much non-stop for 8, maybe 9 years. But it's been serving me well. The biggest problem with it really is more on my part. Well, two-faceted. One, it runs an old version of Ubuntu, 12, I think, 12.04 or something, and I never upgraded it. So it's still running a really old version of Ubuntu, and every time I want to try something new on it, a whole bunch of packages are outdated and I have to update them, and when it comes to a server, I don't like changing too much, and because I've let it stagnate, now getting anything working it requires me to change too much. In addition, its CPU is pretty slow. It's an E3700, I think. By modern standards, it's a dinosaur. It still did most of its stuff right well enough, but it's gotten to the point where, I want to add more things, and it's starting to really, really chug. For example, I want to install NTOP on it. NTOP, that's a network monitoring software. You've seen it in a prior video. And it just didn't have the horsepower to keep up with the packets of a 50 megabit link. In addition, I wanted to install Plex on it, but I bumped into some library issues and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to install Grafana, and that didn't work out either. So anyway, I decided to, for the past few years, to upgrade it, but, I never really had the time. All this pandemic stuff going on, I am not commuting, so I do have more time. A favorite place of me to purchase computer equipment has been Dell Refurbished. What they are is they take off-lease computer components, laptops, desktop workstations, and sell them to the public. The prices are reasonable most of the time, but every once in a while they have some good sales. And if you're really lucky, you pick up a really good deal. So in my case, for $100, I picked up an Optiplex 7090, which is a fantastic deal. I set that one up, migrated all my data. During the process, I decided, okay, first off, before I bring my old server down for migration, let's back things up. And Murphy hit. I start the backup. I actually have to split across 2 backup drives. Doesn't matter. The first backup works, and then the second backup, I attach the drive. I start up the backup scripts that I have. Everything seems to work fine. I finish. I unmount the drive, and the machine stops responding. And it's, when a PC level hardware stops responding, it's not that uncommon. Frankly, with Unix or Linux, it's less common, but this was a hard hang, which is weird. But even more weird, and this I had never seen before, pressing the power button 10 seconds did not turn it off. I have never seen that before. Generally, when it comes to power management on a consumer PC, there's a small bit of firmware running on a power management subsystem within the PC that's always active. No matter what the main CPU is doing, if you press that power button for a certain amount of time, it will shut off. The fact that it wasn't told me something very bad hardware-wise was going on. This wasn't a software problem. So anyways, turned off the server, did my migration because now I had no server running. I was fortunate. It happened at a time when things weren't too bad. So after I got the new server up, which took a full day, I went back to the old server and I'm like, okay, well, what's wrong with it? I plugged it in, pressed the power button, nothing. Dead. Okay, so I started looking around, and what I noticed is that the power supply LED, it actually has one on its back, was doing something weird. So this is the power supply, and this is a standard ATX power supply. I know it comes from a Dell machine, but they tend to be pretty good. Their layouts tend to be non-standard, especially in small form factor PCs, but this is a regular desktop PC, standard ATX power supply, standard power connectors, everything. So I want to show you what it's doing. So a little bit different today. First off, when you have a power supply like this, how do you turn it on? It has no switch or anything like that. All of these are soft power on. That little microcontroller or circuitry on the motherboard uses standby power that comes from this thing when it turns on, when you plug it in. And what it does is it tells the power supply when to deliver power to the rest of the computer. Old school here, how you can get an ATX class power supply, I'm sure this works with more modern power supplies, is you simply short 2 pins together, the green and any of the blacks, it doesn't matter. I always recommend people do it with a resistor because you never know. But what this does is this tells the power supply to turn on. Second rule with power supplies. Now this goes really far back. I don't even think it applies anymore, but power supplies, these types of power supplies used to have problems of turning on properly without a load connected. Now most modern ones won't have any problem, but if you're trying to debug a bad power supply issue, you have to have a load, okay? If you don't have a load, then it's working now, great, but you know, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't have to be a huge load. I just have an old hard drive here plugged in and we're good to go. So let's see what happens when I plug this in. This power supply is nice. It has a little LED. So when I plugged this in the PC, this LED was blinking oddly. It should be solid on, but it was blinking. So let's have a look. Yeah. All right. So what we have here is it's not exhibiting the problem. This LED is brightly lit. It's stable. The fan's running, and the hard drive is turning. I don't know if I'm going to repair this power supply. I actually had a spare one, so I could get my machine up and running. But I am curious. I know this power supply didn't work in a PC. I'm not going to put it back in that PC right now. I just want to see if we can find anything wrong with it. So let's open her up and see what we've got. One thing I want to say is this is a good quality power supply. It doesn't look it, but it does come from a Dell machine, and Dell knows what they're doing. So I'm not saying it's a high-performance power supply or anything like that. What I'm saying is this is probably not going to kill you. First off, never do this if you have it plugged in. Okay? Unplug it. Second, if you're at all unfamiliar or uncomfortable with high-voltage stuff, do not do this. Okay? Please don't. Please don't hurt yourself. Please do only at your own risk. I don't want you hurting yourselves. There is the potential for lethal voltages to be present in a power supply that has been recently powered, even if it's unplugged. Okay? There are capacitors in here. The first stage of a switching power supply is to convert the incoming AC into DC. Doing this using a full bridge rectifier, as Mr. Electro Boom would say. Those, to smooth that power supply out, since it's DC coming from AC going through a bunch of diodes, there are large input capacitors. Those capacitors are charged to your mains voltage plus a certain amount. And that's because of the way RMS, so 120 volts if you're in North America, the waveform of 120 volt AC main supply doesn't peak at 120. It peaks at 120 times the square root of 2, which is approximately 170 something. And when you convert from AC to DC, those peaks are what are stored in the capacitors. So those caps could have 170 volts. In the rest of the world, using 240-ish volt supplies, that's even higher. I think 320 or whatever. I don't remember offhand. But the point is, these caps have a lethal charge in them. Now, good power supply design, well, good design in general, is caps like that, capacitors like that, have bleed resistors or some method of bleeding that charge so that they don't keep that charge over a period of time after being unplugged. Now, I don't know if it's even part of standards or anything. Most power supplies, you can be relatively confident they're doing that. That said, be careful, because maybe they aren't. And you know what? If you're the one who's going to get electrocuted, it's up to you to make sure it's safe. Please, stay safe, people. So just looking at this quickly, there are certain things. So first off, okay, again, safety first. I am gripping this very carefully by the case. That's grounded. That almost certainly should be fine. But if I turn it around, this is a good quality power supply in that they've actually cared about our safety. They have a guard here. And what does that, it's plastic, it's non-conductive. What does that tell me? It's probably for safety. So I was all going to say, make sure you hold the case and avoid. In this case, you don't have to, because this is here, which is very nice. Thank you, Dell. Or thank you, Dell, for buying from Delta Electronics, and it's a good power supply. So why is this covered? Because clearly this is where all the high voltage stuff is. Now, these are the input caps that I was talking about. So if you know, probably hard to see. Maybe I should zoom in a bit. Okay, so this is the input section here. These thick wires here. So to be clear, with these power supplies versus the really old ones, the AT style or the XT style, there is no AC power switch in this power supply. When you plug it in, AC's getting to it, no matter what. And that's because this is, as I said, soft power on. There's a subset of the power supply that is always supplying current, and that power supply, that small power, low current power supply, is used to power a very small part of the motherboard, so that to enable soft power on. So if you hit, for example, if you hit the keyboard, if you have it set up correctly, most aren't, if you hit a button on the keyboard, the machine will power up. Okay? If you have it set up correctly, you can wake up the machine over the network by sending a special packet over the network to your machine, and it will power itself on. Those are all soft power on features available on PCs. Often misconfigured, often don't work right, but they're there, and the hardware supports it. So this power supply is always supplying a small amount of current on one of these wires. It's the 5-volt standby line. Don't remember which one it is offhand. So no AC power switch, okay? This is the input section here. First step, how old is this power supply? So if you look at a piece of equipment like this, if you look at the chips, they will often have a date code on them. I think what I'm going to do is remove the case. So let's have a look. How old is this board? So if you look at these components here, I see 822, J822, and then TNY 266. All right, so my guess, based on that, most likely is a code date for this chip, which would indicate 2008, 22nd week. What that tells you is that the component was made in 22nd week of 2008. It doesn't tell you when the power supply was made, right? It gives you, well, it gives you an earliest possible date. Now, in mass manufacturing, components don't stay on shelves very long. So it's a good bet that this power supply was built in late 2008. So this is probably 2008 power supply, which means the machine's older than I thought it was. And it also means it's been running longer than I thought it was. Potentially 12 years? Well, 11 years? Anyways, so back to, you've determined the age. That's always important for determining whether something's even worth fixing. In this case, okay, so the power supply isn't working. Now, probably all of you have heard that the number one killer of electronic components for a long time has been electrolytic capacitors. And the easiest way to tell if an electrolytic capacitor is definitely dead is whether it's bulging. A cap can be bad if it isn't bulged. Absolutely, 100%. But if it's bulged, it's almost certainly dead. Dead isn't dead. What dead means is the capacitor is no longer within spec. All right. There are two specs that are important for for all capacitors, but more important for capacitors in certain usage scenarios. One of those scenarios being power supplies. First off, capacity is always important. All right. If you buy a 1 microfarad capacitor within a certain tolerance, you expect it to be within that tolerance, right? And you design for that. Now, in many cases, the actual value of the capacitor isn't that critical. Say a bypass capacitor on a chip. You know, most people put down a 100 nanofarad capacitor. If that cap were 200 nanofarad or 50 nanofarad, it would still perform its function well enough. There's enough margin in the design that would probably still work fine. All right. In power supplies, capacitor values can be quite critical. Not, a crazy amount. We are talking about electrolytic capacitors in this case, which are inherently not accurate in value. But if they drift enough away from their spec value, they can cause problems. That's one area that's important. A second area that's particularly important to power supplies is something called ESR, equivalent series resistance. What that is basically, if you think of a capacitor as a bucket of water, okay? It stores a certain amount of energy, in this case, water. The ESR is a measure of how quickly you can drain the water from that bucket, okay? So if you have a capacitor with a very large ESR, a very high equivalent series resistance, think of it as your bucket with a lot of water in it, a lot of energy, having a lid with a tiny hole in it. So when you turn that bucket over, the energy comes out, the water comes out, but it comes out very slowly, okay? A low ESR capacitor with a low equivalent series resistance is like a bucket with no lid. So when you turn it over, all that water comes out, boom, all at once, okay? That's an ideal capacitor, all right? Now, why is that important? Because in power supplies, you are dealing with, in switching power supplies, you are dealing with switching currents, okay? You have transformers here, you have coils, blah, blah. Depending on the topology of the power supply, the switching power supply, you have a switch that's turning on and off really quickly, creating pulses of current, okay? And the capacitors are used to smooth those pulses of current. Now, what does a pulse of current sound like? Well, in the case of our bucket of water, what that is large amounts of energy going into and out of the bucket really quickly, okay? So if you have a bucket with a small hole and you try to put water into it quickly, that just can't happen. It won't happen. So as capacitors age, electrolytic capacitors age, there was also the capacitor plague of the late 90s, early 2000s, where there was some industrial espionage. So you started having all these clone manufacturers of a certain capacitor recipe that were horrible. They started failing within years. And that's why most hardware built in the late 1990s, early 2000s, had a very high fail rate. Looking at this board, I immediately saw a problem. Okay, and you're probably staring at it and yelling right now. These two capacitors look fine. I'd have to test them. I don't have my meter right now. It doesn't matter. They're in circuit, which makes testing difficult, but they're probably fine. But it doesn't matter, because if I'm looking over here, those two guys, there's a capacitor here and a capacitor there. They are bulged by a lot. Like, they're ready to, pop. They're definitely no good anymore. And based on where they are, it's actually kind of funny. I'm seeing them in the closest vicinity to these yellow wires, which is the 12-volt rail, which is the main rail of the motherboard. These two caps, well, they're definitely bulged, and they're probably causing the problem. That alone. Like, I don't even need to look at anything else right now. I would replace those caps and try this power supply, and it'll probably work. I would recommend, though, that if you're going to replace these two, why are these two still fine? They're probably not, okay? They're probably on their way out as well. So if you're going to do a recapping, as it's often called, I would recap every electrolytic cap in this power supply, okay? There's some here with stolastic. That one in here is definitely bulging as well. If it hasn't caused problems, it probably will soon. So the way these power supplies work is they take AC coming in, convert it to DC. The second step of all these power supplies is they convert that DC to a lower DC. There's some filtering on the outside, so these caps are final smoothing and price stability, loop stability, and that's why these are so important. So what we have here is a failure when a certain amount of load appears on one of the power rails, probably the 12-volt rail. So replace the caps, replace them all, and it'll probably work. Am I going to do that? Nah, it's not worth it. This power supply is not worth the amount of money, the amount of time and money to repair, honestly. Which is a shame, but this is probably going to go into e-waste, which is a shame, but it's not really worth me fixing. Okay, so I hope that was interesting. I hope that was educational. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to chat a bit. And stay safe, everyone. Until next time.